but we will go ahead if she can. All right, we will call this meeting to order. All right, Vicky,
Yes.
can we get a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Harris,
Here.
Ms. Aller. Here. Ms. Beck.
Here.
Ms. Crane. Mr. Harris.
Here.
Campbell.
Here for the next 10 minutes.
Hill. Here. Mr. Terry. And Mr. Rippey.
Here.
All right, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
All right, thank you. Welcome everyone to our board meeting, March the 17th, 2026. We're going to go ahead and ask for announcements. Do we have any announcements today?
No.
Okay, and we have no one for public comment period. All right, then we will move on. As far as the committee reports, there's just one request that I have of this board. I've been thinking about our committees and being able to make sure that we are operational and functioning within our committees. So what I would like to do is I would like to have us meet with each one of the committees. And I'm going to actually come to each one for your first one. But we will meet with each committee just to make sure that we're moving forward with our committee structure according to our bylaws. Is that all right with everyone? All right, I will work with Vicky I will work with Vicky. And we'll go ahead and see if we can get some time set up for each committee. Because I also want to make sure that the way we report out, the structure of the committee and things like that, I want to make sure that we're moving in a direction that I see we should be going in. All right. All right. Thank you so much. That's all I have as far as committees. Anyone else have anything else concerning committees? All right, let's move forward. Number 4, approval of minutes. This is our regular board meeting that was held on February the 17th, 2026. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
May I have a second? Second. Okay, the motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the board minutes are now approved. Now let's move on to our resolutions. Approval to renew contract with Fox, what is that, Rothschild? The legal services related to development and asset repositioning. May I have a motion
So
to
moved.
approve, and may I have a second?
Thank you.
All right, we are ready for discussion.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Candace Shaw. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives here at LMHA. Resolution 5A seeks the LMHA board approval to renew the contract with Fox Rothschild for legal services related to development and asset repositioning. If approved, this renewal would be the first of 4 optional 1-year renewals for this contract. Fox Rothschild provides LMHA with a broad range of legal consultation services, including drafting and reviewing MOU and developer agreements, as well as ground lease terms, recipient and subrecipient agreements for federal funds, advisement in relation to building development capacity within LMHA, whether through LMHA DC or through the creation of other entities. They provide general counsel as it applies to all development and asset repositioning activities. They provide review of third-party property management agreements. And over the next year, LMHA will continue to utilize Fox Rothschild for these services as related to the following developments at First Link, Avenue Plaza, Dr. Manor, and Hazelwood Grove in the area of former Iroquois home, as well as repositioning of several public housing properties which have been identified as eligible for conversion under the Section 18 and/or RED program, and assisting with AHAP contracts and LMHA's program here. In year 1 of the contract, LMHA expended $50,524.50. However, the bulk of this work did occur later in the year in quarters 3 and 4, 2025, as that was the time when LMHA DC was able to ramp up and negotiate terms with co-development partners, LBG Development for First Link and Dr. Manor sites, as well as with Denton Wade for Hazelwood Grove. So for this renewal, we do request an annual NTE contract of $275,000, reflecting a reduced NTE from the previous year by $25,000. while preserving the bulk of the contract amount to accommodate a higher level of service need over the next year in the addition of a contract work. LMHA has been highly satisfied with the quality of work and responsiveness at Fox Rothschild and its associates, and I'm going to get into it.
Are there any questions? Any concerns? All right, we're ready for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, resolution 5A is now approved. Moving on to resolution 5B. Approval of contract renewal for financial consultant development services. May I have a motion, please? May I have a second?
Second.
All right, so motion and second, ready for discussion.
Thank you. This resolution, number 5, is to request LMHA board approval to renew the contract with Baker Tilly Advisory Services for financial and housing development services. If approved, this renewal would constitute the first of 4 optional 1-year renewals for the contract. The existing scope of financial consulting services relate to rehab or redevelopment of legacy site projects, which are likely to include a number of public and private funding sources that are complex in nature and require financial consulting and advisory services related to real estate development and operations. These include, but aren't limited to, low-income housing tax credits, tax-exempt bonds, HUD grants such as Sub 6 or Toys or something similar that may come down the road in the future, funds, CDBG funds, project-based vouchers, project-based rental assistance, and project debt funds. In year 1, LMHA expended $25,145 for the authorized $150,000 not to exceed contract. This relatively low spend can be attributed to LMHA taking advantage of HUD's grad technical assistance program this previous year at no cost to LMHA. This prepared an interdisciplinary group of LMHA staff to thoughtfully build out a repositioning pipeline and commence this work in earnest with the assistance of Baker Tilly. We anticipate the contract spend to increase over the course of the next year as we solidify and begin to act on these conversion plans. Therefore, we request $100,000 in the first renewal year for the existing scope of services. In addition to financial consulting services, Baker Tilly offers a full spectrum of development consulting services, including owner representation and construction needs. LMHA has been awarded $2.1 million in CDBG funds from Louisville Metro government to complete demolition and environmental abatement of the former Hartsman grocery store. This is a blighted property that poses a health and safety risk to the community. Concerns include vandalism and unauthorized occupancy. The property has been very difficult to secure and cause weekly and sometimes daily law enforcement calls to the site. Structural deterioration and environmental hazards present imminent safety risks for everyone. Given the complexity of the demolition project and funding source, as well as timing and capacity constraints, LMHA proposes to utilize Baker Tilly construction management services as part of the project. These services will not exceed $100,000 and will be 100% I have included the full scope of services in the resolution background statement. But this would authorize Baker Tilly Advisory Group to perform construction management as an owner representative for the DCU and as a contractor who would be considered responsible for completing this work. They would be working directly with Jack and Initiative and other work as needed. Just for reference, construction management fees are typically calculated at 10% of total hard costs of a construction project. The total estimated hard cost for demolition of Earthland is $1.965 million. Baker Tilly proposed cost for these services at $125,000, within 6.4% below industry standard. LMHA does not currently have capacity to perform the breadth of services, risk management, monitoring, and reporting required for a project of this nature, which is extremely time sensitive. We must complete this demolition in a timely manner within a 6-month period, so we're ready to proceed with the development of that property, and also clearly to reduce any safety issues for our community members. And the project, as I said, is time sensitive, and it will require strict adherence to regulations on the funding source as well as environment. Therefore, LMHA seeks board approval to renew the contract with Baker Tilly Advisory Services for 1 year. for a total not to exceed amount of $25,000. This includes a reduced funding amount of $100,000 for the current scope of financial consulting services, with an addition of $105,000 for construction management services. For the demolition of the property.
So their role is just up until you hand it over to LDG, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And we would not, unless we had another project that we wanted to
sure.
use
Can you come back?
services for next year, we would not include that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, the CDBG funding, is that why we need to go ahead and make it happen? Or is it more of the safety issue?
Well, there are definitely safety issues there, and so, we hear quite frequently, and Elizabeth gets a lot of calls about when is that building gonna be down. There are definitely folks who are sleeping around the property, et cetera. So.
It's really the development.
And it is the development timeline, so it is to close on the development early 7. So, we would definitely be able to deliver that clean and buildable site to our critical.
Okay.
So it's down for safety reason, so it's not necessarily the CDBG funding clock,
Yeah,
but it's the financial closing, and this needs to be, it doesn't make sense, it's a separate transaction to demolish the property.
okay.
It's fair, so like, is that a full group or is that big, what, where is that?
No, there's national vendors located out.
Well, that's okay, I'm just kind of curious as to what they're. Where they based?
They have offices in several different places in
Okay.
Chicago.
Okay.
All right, do we have any other questions, comments? All right, we're ready for the vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, resolution 5B is now approved. Moving on to resolution 5C, approval of amendment eliminating immediate vesting of the 5.5 employer deferred contribution. May I have a motion, please? May I have a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and second, ready for discussion.
This, yeah, it's resolution 5C is, as for the approval to amend LMHA retirement vesting schedule. So that a lot of you know, we currently offer generous retirement, 37%. And the vesting schedule for that right now is essentially exceed the Department of War, 5% of that, that's immediately in the remaining. That's over a 5-year period. So this is just us adjusting kind of the our post company instead of 85%. I don't really know what the genesis of that was and why we decided to go that route just go. But we would just convert to where every money just goes from 5%. The cost savings from that is a little bit difficult to quantify, but we don't expect it to be really large. I think the bigger part of this is incentive for employees to stay with get 5.5 to 1 staying 1 to 2. Not much incentive, but really only what you're staying for is a fifth of that would be 2 rather than the whole. That's essentially just kind of the background down there.
This is only for new employees.
Only for new employees. Okay.
We don't have any questions on this. Anybody have any questions, concerns?
Does the tenure of the previous employees, the ones who are on it, does that last throughout their tenure?
So if I'm understanding correct, so if any current employee
Right.
at volunteer and company. They already have 5.5%. That will just give you both like anybody post February 1st. February 1st in code, that would be subject. But it wouldn't affect them.
And did it show us in here exactly what year that vesting began though? Did I miss that?
No, and to be honest with you.
Yeah, I didn't
that's-
see.
That's why, anecdotally, I thought that there was somebody that mentioned the 5.5 maybe, there was some city here, so they hold out under those ratings. And it might have been union related, it might have been worth it, they decided to say, let's just add 5.5%. Again, I'm not sure why, I'm not sure what the origin of that was, but anecdotally, that's kind of what I've heard. And this has been out for at least 10.
It's 3+,
What was that?
40+ years.
40,
Yeah.
for the immediate,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Wow. So did we ever look at maybe having investing starting at maybe at a 5-year mark or a 3-year mark or anything like that?
I know we discussed currently, couple of different honestly, one that happened at start year 2, right? So to get any of the investment, have to get through 2 higher years. Then it was starting 5 years. And then we also discussed having the contributions start till year 1 or year 2. But you know, I think at this point we were just trying to kind of both that if you take away the 5.5 immediate, nobody currently is going to have any perspective. Nobody would really expect to get 5.5 in the first place. A lot of companies don't even offer 5.5 total, right, for a match.
Yeah.
A match is 0.7 all fully. So this was almost like the low hanging fruit, but you know, going forward, I mean, just looking at all of our budget ratings and here's number one, I think, yeah, maybe it was more like some object.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions, comments?
You mentioned the union, is this part of
This-
what you've negotiated with them in the
Yeah.
last few months?
Set didn't have any.
Okay, all right. Good.
All right. All right, any other questions, concerns? All right, we're ready for the vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Resolution 5C is now approved. Please let it be noted that Karen came in right before the vote of 5B, right? All right, just want to make sure that everybody knows that she was here for that. All right, let's move on to Resolution 5D. Approval of litigation legal services contract. May I have a motion? May I have a second? All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Ready for discussion.
Good afternoon, everyone. Eric Proctor, Deputy Executive Director of Operations. One of our outside legal partners last year, beginning last year, was PPOA, and there's an option to renew their contract. We get sued for a variety of things all the time, and PPOA is an excellent local law firm who kind of, when we work through a filtration system of, can we take care of this internally, maybe bounce off Richard, so something that might end up in actual court or to proceed to a potential settlement, goes through PPOA for the most part. So it's a hodgepodge of things. They've done an excellent job for us. I will note that, and I noticed this as I was reviewing this thing down, the final now therefore says $100,000 per claim lawsuit. I would like to amend that to just $100,000 as a not to exceed for the actual legal costs out for PPOA. This is unrelated to any potential settlement of an individual lawsuit or loss. So if what we'll be asking for, what we are asking for, is to exercise an option on a renewal with PPOA with a not to exceed of $100,000. That does bake in quite a bit, just because we don't know when we're going to get sued and to what degree. I should also mention that PPOA has initiated us seeking legal recourse as well. We're not always the defendant. Last year we spent, 42,000. So we don't anticipate $100,000 of legal costs, but we also don't want to be in a bind, having to come back to you all if we're up against it in terms of a lawsuit. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Can you repeat that language? You said not to exceed 100,000, and then what was after that?
That would just be in legal billing to PPOA
Okay.
in the next contract year.
Talk to us and they, okay, yes.
Yeah, they really do an excellent job for y'all. We've had different people, we've had different ways of dealing with these kinds of cases in the past, and been very, very successful with the Bill of Sparker group. I think they did a lot of success, saved the housing authority a lot of money and potential legal exposure, and very good at working, I think, with the staff and keeping us informed. Everything. You know, to the extent that it may go, to the extent that it matters to any of you, I strongly suggest.
Say it better, Russ.
All right. Anybody have any other questions? All right, concerns? All right, we're ready for the vote. Now, we're going to vote according to the amendment, okay? Not to exceed $100,000. That is without the per claim lawsuit piece, all right? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Resolution 5D is now approved. Moving on to resolution 5E. Approval to renew the general counsel legal service contract with, oh, okay.
I'm gonna step out.
All right, as he steps out, all right. We got there fast today.
Say whatever. Here's a dirty look.
Right. Approval to renew the general counsel legal service contract with Richard H. Nash III. May I have a motion, please? May I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been motioned and second, ready for discussion?
Yes, so we all know Mr. Nash, he's a generations of Nashes have been the legal counsel to this board of commissioners. Richard does an excellent job. You know, I will know that Richard knows this. We are bringing on a general counsel for LMHA starting April the 20th. I do not anticipate that affecting the work Richard does for us much at all, other than the new general counsel for LMHA. We play traffic cop to our various, this is the third one we're asking for, our various outside legal counsel. Would direct work to Richard in the same fashion Elizabeth or I might in the past. Richard he does a great job. I mean, I talked about how PPOA we get a wide variety of things. Richard handles even a wider variety of things, and he charges an extremely reasonable rate, and that's part of his service to this board and to LMHA. So you'll see past year spending, only once did we exceed what we're asking for here, which is a not to exceed of $75,000. We were well below that apparently in 2025. But again, we every day is an adventure at LMHA, and that includes who's suing us and for what, no matter how frivolous or not. So Richard does a great job, and I would very much appreciate if we could renew his contract. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I agree.
Can you explain just what the in-house counsel versus this position is gonna do?
Sure, yeah, so, the in-house counsel is charged with many things, but one of which, and the most important, would be mitigating and managing risk internally for LMHA. And, part of that is kind of this traffic cop idea that I've said, where Okay, this is related to development, it needs to go to Fox Rothschild, this is related to, we're being sued for a slip and fall, this needs to go to PPOA. That's part of what the in-house counsel will do. Also, what the in-house counsel will do is be the final, be the oversight and the final sign off for our procurement. They will supervise the compliance team, they will monitor the Federal Register, the PIH notices, and do legal research and brief us on prevalent issues as it relates to LMHA's operations. I actually talked about this morning in the senior staff meeting, and I'm missing like 5 bullet points.
I'll give an
yes.
example of what having an in-house general counsel is going to do that Richard doesn't do because he's your all's general counsel. So we have, as you all know, a variety of legal contracts that are very specific. We have an attorney who handles our eviction filings and goes to eviction court. And then we have staff who works on that, but we're not lawyers, any of us working on this. So our in-house general counsel is going to help be a legal liaison so that before we hand off something to the outside eviction attorney, we have an internal general counsel who's helping to make sure that the late letters we're sending out are compliant with all HUD regulations, local rules, and state law. Right now, there's really a lot of back and forth between our staff and outside counsel often, which gets very expensive because most of our outside counsel is charging a lot more than we make hourly. So that's just one example. Richard he goes to court for us. He handles, not when it gets to a certain threshold, we send it to PPOA. But Richard does go pretty frequently to district court and handle matters for us. I don't anticipate our general counsel in-house doing that. So and that's just, does that help? Is that an example that's helpful?
Have you had a general counsel in-house before?
No,
Never.
And,
There's no history of it.
there's
Okay.
no, as far as I know,
Okay.
never had one. So
Okay.
we have gotten this has gotten tightened up since I've been here, and Eric is an attorney, of course. So what I saw when I got here was that a lot of our staff were handling things that I thought should be legal matters. And of course, my predecessor was an attorney as well. So I think that was part of it. So we were kind of handling our own contracts. Sometimes we would send them to an attorney to review, sometimes not. And so this is also to help us further tighten up our processes with contracts and reviewing things to, again, mitigate our risk. And we can send them to Richard, but this would be a layer in between that. But Richard will still be our general counsel for many matters, and you're all's general counsel. So he will be an additional layer.
It just seems confusing to me to have 2 people called general counsel.
Well, he's the general counsel to the Board of Commissioners. He's your general counsel.
I'm even more confused by that, I guess.
Right.
So
Having served as both in my career, I don't understand why you need. I know what he does as far as, and he's not.
is it a
in-house general
title that
counsel.
is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm well, and I don't know why. Yes, I mean, I know what he does day to day, I guess. I get it as far as going to district court, and that's his world. Again, he's very good at. I have no problem with Richard. That's not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
It's this dual role that I don't. So is the in-house counsel going to be directing work to Richard?
Yes,
Okay.
as well as our other attorneys.
And so when he goes to court, does he say I'm general counsel for the housing authority?
Well, what he always says now is that I'm general counsel to the Board of Commissioners. So when he writes a response to an attorney, if we get an attorney letter or a claim letter, that's how he responds, because his title is general counsel to the LMHA Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
So that's an example. I mean, so you understand what he's doing day to day, and it sounds like the confusion is it why are we bringing somebody on in-house, or why are there?
No, not at all. No, because it's 2 totally different roles. I understand that.
Mhm.
I mean, sort of. Because you wouldn't want your in-house counsel going to court with you or for you, but God knows. So I don't know if this says anywhere that he's general counsel to the commissioners. That's why when I read this, that's why I was a little confused. The way you are proposing it makes sense, but I don't think that's what this says. It just continues to say he's legal general counsel, legal
Yeah.
counsel, general counsel.
Certainly fair and certainly confusing. I think, at the time that, quite frankly, I believe this, with this language, when, Michelle, wrote this, as the submitter, which our general counsel, who I'm looking for your meeting, I don't think we had one on board, so I think the distinction, which you're rightly pointing out, which is that, this should be, for new general counsel and service of LMHA's board of commissioners.
Mm,
That would provide some clarity, but from when this was submitted and today is when I believe
Sure.
we actually nailed down the general counsel and accepted our offer. So, I'm happy to, well, I don't know that I can repeat what I just said, but
It's
to,
recorded.
yeah,
Play it back.
to make that modification, which would be that to renew general counsel legal services for LMHA Board of Commissioners. Is the title and what specific we're at. But that is an important clarification. We appreciate that.
Is there a more descriptive title?
I mean, all boards have the authority to hire counsel, right? So it's, I think just saying that he's counsel to the Board of Commissioners is probably the best way to put it. That's what I just wrote down.
Okay.
In my mind, that's the way to, and I've hired those before for a board who had its own set of issues.
So the way we're
Who didn't want to
proposing,
talk to me about it.
I'm sorry.
I said I've hired lawyers to talk to our board who didn't want to talk to me about certain things, so. But that's what I always called them, was just your counsel to the board and go talk to them and let me know how it goes.
Does this make sense the way we're
Yes,
laying this
exactly.
out? Okay.
Thank you.
all right, I would like to go ahead and let's do a motion. May I have a motion to change the language from general counsel legal services contract to general counsel legal services contract to the Board of Commissioners? May I have a motion, please?
I would recommend that we just say counsel to the board.
Counsel,
general,
okay,
'cause
not
it involves-
okay,
yeah.
counsel,
If
Okay.
someone else is going out and saying they're general counsel, we don't want them to be diminished or,
yeah, okay,
yeah,
counsel to the Board of Commissioners,
yeah,
all right. May I have a motion, please?
moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and seconded. Anybody have any other questions concerning this particular resolution?
Thank you for indulging me.
No, thank you.
No, thank you for the
Sir, Esquire.
clarification.
We love stuff like
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. All right, we're ready for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, resolution 5E is now approved. Thank you.
that. Thank you.
Tasha, can you send Richard back? Okay, thanks.
We can.
Yeah,
I'm sure that took a long.
I'm a little worried.
We said no.
I know, you might be sweating.
All right, we're gonna move on to our discussion item for today. Elizabeth, it is now in your hands.
Okay. Welcome back, Richard. Congratulations.
Back and congratulations. That's it.
Okay, so what I'm going to talk to you all about today, we have talked about in bits and pieces in the last few months. I sent you all a draft letter correspondence that kind of explains what I'm about to walk you through in terms of our current situation with Section 8 in terms of our budget shortfall. So what I want to make sure we're all on the same page about today is the changes that we're proposing. You will be asked to approve these changes at our next board meeting. These changes are out for public comment now and as part of our administrative plan. The administrative plan is the policy document governing our HCB Section 8 program. We also have our other two policy documents, our MTW plan and our ACOP out for public comment. There's a public hearing scheduled next Tuesday at 6 p.m. on Zoom. Is it Zoom or Teams? Teams. On Teams. I believe that's up on our website if folks want to join to learn more, but I want to make sure that you all feel comfortable with the changes that we're proposing. So as a little bit of a backdrop, Uh-oh, end of slideshow. You go to the second slide. Oh, wait, there it is. There it is. Okay, okay. So this is good news in normal times. This is a chart of the growth in our HCB Section 8 program. So you can see over the years, we have increased the number of households that we're serving in our Section 8 program. Again, that's why we're here. It's great news. And that's also what HUD has been pushing us to do for a very long time. Am I right, guys? They were like, lease up, lease up, lease up. So we did. And then, as you all know, we started getting notices from HUD that we were overleased, that we needed to cut costs and start preparing for a budget shortfall. So what we have been doing is it's preparing to manage the shortfall that we're anticipating beginning in a couple months here. So as you all know, our waiting list is closed in Section 8. It has been closed since 2023, I believe. It's not uncommon for public housing authorities to have their waiting list closed because we know nationally only 1 in 4 people who are eligible for a Section 8 voucher ever get it because we don't have enough Section 8 voucher capacity to go around. We're not issuing any new vouchers except for the vouchers that we have already committed to specific projects. Those are project-based vouchers and project-specific special referral vouchers. We're not issuing any new tenant-based vouchers. We're not issuing any new project-based commitments. And that's been in place since 2024. So soon we will begin working with the HUD Shortfall Prevention Team. That's a specific technical assistance team at HUD that is working with public housing authorities in shortfall. And I assure you, there are a lot of public housing authorities headed for shortfall because we're all in a similar situation. We were told to issue more vouchers, issue more vouchers, issue more vouchers. And then we were told, wait a minute, your vouchers are too expensive, stop issuing vouchers. We have been told, we had a pre-meeting with the shortfall team several months ago. We are projected to be one of the largest shortfalls in the country. And we are a large program, but we are not that large to be accounting for that big of the shortfall. So we need to do a lot of work to narrow that gap. So we are also looking to program changes for our vouchers, which is what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. The first thing that we are proposing in our administrative plan is instituting minimum rents in Section 8. We are proposing a $50 minimum rent that will take effect at the voucher holder's next recertification. We currently have 588 households who pay less than $50 in rent. Note that most public housing authorities have a minimum rent. KHC, which serves the balance of state, their minimum rent is $25. Lexington Housing Authorities is $150. So it is, again, very normal for public housing authorities to have a minimum rent. We've never done it before, but we are looking to it now, and HUD is very pleased to see us moving in that direction. These 588 households, this doesn't mean that there will be writing a red check to their landlord for $50 every month. Section 8, as you know, people generally pay about 30% of their income on rent, but it's not as straightforward as this is what the landlord is charging, this is your income, so this is your rent amount. There are several adjustments that go throughout the process, starting with how we approve rents and look at how rents are, whether they're reasonable or not, how income gets adjusted, and then how we allow for things like utilities in there. So there will still be folks who do not pay anything because they're a utility allowance. If they're paying utilities, we have a utility allowance. If the utility allowance is still more than what they would be paying, then they're not going to pay any rent. But the $50 minimum rent is going into everybody's calculation. Is that, okay, I'm looking at Camille to make sure, and Jonathan, okay. It's actually very complicated.
So is there 30% plus $50?
No,
Or if the 30% is over 50, it's just 30%?
yeah, if you're 30%, if you're paying over $50 in rent now, it's not going to change for you. You're still going to pay that adjusted 30%. But for the folks who are under that, if your income is $0, you pay 0 rent. But now, even if your adjusted income is $0, you're going to have a $50 minimum rent. And then again, that's very normal throughout the country. Okay, the second change we're proposing is the standard medical deduction. That's one of the, yes,
So you mean your adjusted income is zero, right?
yes.
Okay,
I get, or your gross.
sure.
Okay. The standard medical deduction is one of the adjustments taken into effect when we're calculating income. Right now, our standard medical deduction is $2,200. We are proposing to change that to $500 effective for everyone July 1st. However, if voucher holders have qualified medical expenses related to a disability, if they have those receipts over $500, they can submit those to us for consideration. Okay.
Good.
Nope.
When would they do that?
When would they?
As they
submit
occur, like an annual review or?
Would they submit those as they occur or at their recertification? Okay, did you hear that? So they could do it at their recertification or request an interim change. And an interim change, if your income goes down, you can request an interim change for that reason as well.
And does this compare favorably to other authorities or?
Yes. I think that the pattern I've noticed is that LMHA has been very generous and very deeply subsidizing households. And that's always a trade-off. You have a pot of money, you can either deeply subsidize fewer households or kind of spread it out a little bit more. So what we're doing now is spreading it out so we don't have to take anyone's vouchers away. But even in the future, we could think about what's our priority? Is it to serve more households and get more people stable, or do we want to go back to deeply subsidizing fewer households? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So the last change we're proposing would have the largest impact on the most number of families. And it is ending our utility reimbursement payments. So utility reimbursement payments is issued to the tenant when the utility allowance as part of their calculation exceeds the tenant's required rent contribution. So if that's the case, people are used to receiving a check in the mail from LMHA that's called a utility reimbursement payment. We had a moving to work activity approved that is allowing us to end these payments. Utility allowance will continue to be calculated and applied to the rent determination process. But will be a big change. There are 3,300 households currently who receive utility reimbursement payments, and this is going to end July 1st. So what we are doing to try to get people prepared is, shortly after this discussion today and after our public hearing next week, we will start heavily communicating with partners, with residents, with landlords, so that folks know what's happening and how that could impact them.
The special program.
This is all of our vouchers, yeah. It's not for public housing, it's just for the vouchers.
Do you have any guess what it is for the average recipient?
The average or payment, do we remember that off the top of our head? The average is $181
A month?
monthly. For 3,300 people.
That's the same part of the
Mhm.
when the bills are time. So the tenant would typically pay the bill,
Mhm.
right? And then on the back end, if it was more than they were supposed to pay or calculated to pay, they would receive that.
So the utility reimbursement payments is not actually related to what they're paying to LG&E. It's related to a utility allowance that's calculated based on previous year's usages. So those already don't fluctuate throughout the year. So the utility reimbursement payment is the same every month, whether it's a high usage month or a low usage month. Does that make sense?
It does.
Do you want to, Camille or Jonathan, do you guys want to come up and walk folks through? Because these are really big changes and I want to make sure. No, you got to stand up there. You got to stand up. Or you can sit next to John, but you need a microphone.
No, they typically, utility allowance for both
So, like Elizabeth stated. So like Elizabeth stated before, the utility allowance is a calculation, is a part of the for tenant portion. So those utility reimbursements, once that tenant portion exceed or the allowances exceed what they would have paid, they get the difference. That makes sense. So if our utility allowance, for example, was a total of $250. And you didn't owe anything else, you would get that check for $250 because your income with the allowances and the deductions and the adjustments all equaled up to a zero income. And so all that's left is the utility allowance that was applied. So whatever we apply for your utilities as an allowance, whatever is deducted from what you would have to pay as a tenant portion and for 30%, you get the difference.
So this is not something that residents would feel like they were missing.
Oh, no, they're gonna feel that they're missing.
Okay.
Because 3,300 families who are getting a check every single month. And it could be like the average of $181, or it could be $300 that they can get month after month after month based off of, you know, their calculation. So removing these utility reimbursement payments is a huge deal. This is a huge impact.
So it basically, and I'm just gonna say it in my own words. If the individual did not meet the utility allowance, we've been giving them a check back for not meeting that full amount, right?
They weren't.
Now we're saying, I'm gonna still pay your utility up to a certain, to whatever that is, but I'm not gonna give you that check back at the end. Is that what we're saying?
To apply the allowance, we still have the utility allowance that's applied. So it's kind of like basically think about, okay, say for instance, your utility reimbursement, oh, well, the utility allowance was $250 and I had a tenant portion of $100. Only $150 would I receive as a reimbursement because the allowance exceeded what I would needed to pay to my tenant portion. That makes sense, right?
Okay.
So that $150, I'm expecting that $150 because that's what exceeded in the allowance. That was the excess from the allowance. So we're always going to apply the allowance. The allowance still will be applied. It's just we will no longer pay you out the overage.
Right, right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
This is for people who both pay an LGD bill and whose utilities are included.
No, if your utilities are not included in the rent, you would not pay.
Okay, so this is for people in public housing and.
No, it's only for people who are voucher holders.
It's only for voucher holders who pay their utilities separate from.
Separate from, yes.
So if your rent includes your utilities, we don't have a utility allowance, you don't get a utility reimbursement payment, so your life's not gonna change. This is for only voucher, because our public housing residents do not pay utilities. That's
Those are-
included in their rent.
Mhm.
So this is only for voucher holders whose rent does not include their utility payments. For the people who are paying Louisville Water separately, or LMHA separately, or waste management separately for their trash or something like that.
So they always came up with the money out of their own pocket.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right,
Okay, and
exactly.
then sometimes they would get a check.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And you get a check back if the utility allowance that's calculated based on your bedroom size is greater than your tenant portion of rent. So if your utility allowance is $150 and your tenant portion is $70, we cut you a check for $80 a month. That is
I paid more once a year extra.
because we
Because we
anticipated
anticipated your allowance.
anticipated. So what's changing now is we are stopping cutting those checks. So for 3,300 people, and some of them have very small checks. We have a lot of people with very small checks, and we
Mhm.
have a fewer number of households with very large checks. So an average isn't super helpful, but we can send you all the impact analysis chart so that you could see how many households of different sizes would be impacted by which amount. This is hands down the biggest change that we're proposing. And because it's the biggest change to the largest number of families, it's also the largest cost savings to LMHA. So if there are no more questions on like how this works, I'm gonna go to the next slide to show you the numbers that we're working with. You should just stay, Camille. Thank you. So and it's, it's tough to project out, things change, jobs change, all kinds of things happen, but we anticipate that implementing minimum rents, which is going to take a while to be fully implemented because it takes effect at the next recertification, will have a cost savings to LMHA of $2.7 million. Reducing the standard medical deduction will save us about $1 million. Ending the utility reimbursement payments, we're estimating at about $6.8 million a year, and that's going to start in July. So you add all of these up, our best guess of our total estimated savings is about $10.5 million. Right now, our projected Section 8 budget shortfall is about $10 million. So these changes, our best estimation is that this should help close that shortfall. And again, we are hopeful that a couple things will happen to get us out of the shortfall in the long term. One is that the budget situation changes and HUD gets more money for Section 8, and then we get a larger portion of HUD's Section 8 dollars. That's the biggest hope. And then also, because we're not issuing any new vouchers, but we are attriting folks. Folks give up their vouchers, folks are terminated from the program. So the program naturally shrinks over time when you're not issuing new vouchers. We have an allocation from HUD for tenant protection vouchers that we received as replacement vouchers for Dosker Manor. So that's going to also help cover some of those outstanding project-based voucher commitments that we have. That is our plan to kind of dig out of this hole. What does this mean for families?
So back on that slide, that's for over what period of time?
The savings?
Yeah,
So this is annually.
$10.5 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will be a little less because the minimum rent, that 2.7 million for minimum rent is going to roll in over time. But the medical deduction changes and the utility reimbursement payments stopping, those are going into effect in July. So over one fiscal year, those will save us 7.8 million, and the 2.7 million in savings from the minimum rent will roll in over time. He's pulling out his calculator.
No. Any other day I would have done that.
Do it. Yeah. This is.
It makes sense, not you. Yeah.
It makes, it's a beautiful.
A lot of the families that live in bigger older houses and less than harder to eat and feel reasonable price and probably more severely impacted. So once this goes into effect, like, is it easy for people? Because naturally they want to move.
Right. Well, in our family, we don't have a clause on that you. For as long as they're out of their lease.
So, and also the utility reimbursement payment is not related to what they're actually paying to LG&E. So the utility reimbursement payment is calculated based on of the whole county's costs and all different kinds of housing, like apartments, townhouses, houses, all kind of averaged out together. So if somebody has a huge LG&E bill because they live in a big drafty house, they're still gonna anyway have the same utility allowance and the same IRB that everybody else has. So what would impact the IRB is income and also household size, like bedrooms, number of bedrooms. But not if your house is drafty or not.
It would like how they did not renovate completely, like giving out smaller figures across the board, like that fun.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I was gonna say, we did discuss that. The problem with it is that our system doesn't have a way to like cut some people off. Like it's not a easy as a on-off switch or just to key it. It's very difficult to track.
We also have just that huge shortfall.
Yeah.
So we looked at a lot of, just like all the cost savings things that we've done, we looked at many, many options and had to weigh how much money do we have to save? And then how do we kind of get there? But the fact is we have a really large shortfall. And I mean, these were our best options to kind of close that gap. When HUD has sent out several times now communications to public housing authorities warning us to contain our costs. And all of the things that they put in there, most of them we've already done or what we're planning to do right now. They've also, I mean, they have some other things that we're not doing, which is just like lowering the amount we pay landlords, period. But landlords don't have to take Section 8 right now. So we fear that would put a lot of people out of their housing. And then they always include in their notices to like make sure that public housing authorities have policies in place for how they terminate assistance. So it's a very real conversation right now nationally that public housing authorities are getting signals from HUD that if we can't get our shortfalls under control, we will have to terminate vouchers. They will have to take people's vouchers away. So, I mean, so that's why ultimately we went with the biggest number on this one, but we did do those sensitivity analyses.
I just feel like, I'm big on fixed income myself, like some money is better than other people that stuff utility payers. So I know like, thought about like things like giving everybody who's on utility allowance, give them like $50 a month there, that would like still too much.
Did we, I don't remember if we looked at,
We
did we look at that?
We did talk about like the minimum, payment. But it just, I don't think it was still gonna for us to get under the shortfall. And the issue, I mean, I think in a nutshell, what we're talking about is utility reimbursement payments versus having to randomly select people to pull them off of the voucher. So the impact, this is, I mean, it's a lot of money that we're in a sense saving, but the good impact is far less than if we would have to start pulling vouchers from people. And we're talking about, in the middle of a transfer. So if someone had requested a transfer, you have a cutoff time period and they have it located to play, they don't get to move. They can't use a voucher. We can take it back. So the impact is way greater, I think, in that sense, than this would be. This is a big deal, and I'm not saying that it's not a big deal. It's gonna be. I know that we're gonna have probably a lot of comments and a lot of people are really upset about losing this money. But it's kind of like between that or we're taking vouchers totally off the street. At 6.8 million to cover our shortfall, we've had to probably take that quite a few vouchers. So, I mean,
Yeah, and this is also something too, that we could reinstitute when our budget situation improves. The reimbursement payment.
I get it, like, we're trying to figure out how to cover a shortfall.
This is the team's least favorite.
yeah.
What's the timeline on the PR behind this in terms of how we will be to present it?
So we have communications, we're working on communications to partners, the media, of course, voucher holders and landlords as well. Including written communication, videos explaining, because it is quite complicated, how all of it's gonna play out. And it's hard for somebody to come in and just tell us what their rent is and what their income is, and for us to know without going into the system exactly how it's going to be impacted. So we plan to get as much communication out there as possible, starting a few weeks from now. Is that right? Yeah. And community
Yeah,
engagements as well. So Camille and Jonathan and Jalen went out and met with most of our council members in their districts, and we plan to continue to partner with folks and get out there and really explain this. There are resources for folks who are struggling to make their utility payments. And will you explain the reasonable accommodation process for this?
So what we do have in place is for families who are disabled, and they're in situations where their medical need requires increased usage of utilities, they can request a accommodation to be approved for us to give them the assistance, their utility reimbursement payments just for their medical needs, because they have I don't know if they have to have something plugged in that requires a excessive amount of utility usage. So there are those things. And we're also ensuring that we're deploying our resident services to talk about these issues, because one of the things that we do know is that helping our families to navigate the different programs throughout county. It's not just the housing authority's responsibility to assist you with your utilities. There are other agencies that assist with utilities. So, when people are dealing with those things, deploying our resident service to assist those families, helping them to budget, helping them to manage, helping them to get on maybe LG&E's plans to be able to work through their utility issues. So things like that. I think that, I don't think we've done enough of that. And I think moving forward, it's not money, but it is assistance with trying to manage, going through those resources. So that is the hope. Like I said, it's not ideal. We know that it will be very upsetting for families, because they do depend on that income, whether they should or shouldn't, they do. That's the reality. They are expecting their money each month. But we also need to make sure that for the good of our entire program, that we have to keep running. We have to keep our doors open. So this is a part of a big deal that we're going to have to navigate through. And I agree with Elizabeth. I mean, hopefully this will continue and we can reinstitute these payments. But for now, these are some of the adjustments that we just have to make. And then also the other piece is just really helping our residents to really navigate the resources that are out there. We have several public housing residents who take advantage of utility services and they don't even pay utilities. So now we need to, we need to make sure that the people who have to pay utilities are getting those services.
So what this means, for families, we obviously know that for folks who are expecting that monthly check from LMHA who aren't getting it, that's going to be a huge hit. The good news is we have no plans to terminate assistance at this time, and everybody gets to keep their voucher. That's our guiding light here. That's our guidepost. Collectively, the changes should close the shortfall gap over time. And when the budget improves, we can either serve more families at this current level, or we can reinstitute utility reimbursement payments. To make that call together if that happens. Are there any other questions about that right now? On to better news.
What PVVs do you have out?
I'm sorry?
What project-based vouchers that are not handed out yet are out there?
So we have for some special referral vouchers. So these are not technically PVVs. These are the special referral vouchers that we had that are project specific. We have Monarch Station, Red Key Landing. Monarch Station is expected to open later this spring. Red Key Landing is open and starting to lease up. Bridlewood Crossing. So a lot of supportive housing developments. Are those am I missing any special referral? Those three. So we have also been having conversations with the state. They have an allocation of 811 disability vouchers, and they are speaking to those projects to see if they can put some of the state vouchers in there in place of our vouchers. They have that separate pot. So that can help ease some of that. The project-based vouchers that are outstanding include, the other special referral program voucher that's outstanding is the Family Scholar House Medical Campus, which is located in the Liberty Green footprint. But we think that those can be absorbed through our tenant protection voucher lease up schedule from DOSCR. Our other PVV pipeline that are going to lease up this year under the TPV schedule. Do you remember those PPV vouchers? We have, we're already leasing. We have York Towers, Gateway, Prestonian, Eclipse, but they're not full. Those aren't fully leased yet. Or Gateway is, but Eclipse and Prestonian are still leasing up on those PPVs. So we've, I think, allocated some of our TPVs to them. They're our plan. Richmond, Port Shaw. What are the other ones? Beecher, the new phase of Beecher. So those are the ones that are outstanding. So we're hoping that those can either be supported with some state vouchers or our tenant protection voucher pipeline. We cannot take an existing voucher holder and just switch them to a TPV. We can't do that. And then remember remember the emergency housing vouchers that were allocated as part of the COVID recovery fund? Those were supposed to be funded by 2030. They are only funded through this year. So we either have to absorb those into our just general pot of housing choice vouchers, or potentially get a separate set aside of tenant protection vouchers from HUD to help cover those folks, so we don't have to terminate their assistance. It's also unclear to us what exactly is happening with mainstream voucher funding. So that's another potential obstacle for us. That's a separate allocation of funds from the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Okay, now can I move on to something?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
So the good news is that we've started for this year, we've restarted our resident engagement, where the senior staff and I go to most of our congregate sites and meet with residents and see what's happening. These photos are from our engagement last week at Wilsey Plaza. Today we were out at Parkway Place. Thursday we'll be at Lord's Hall. And then on the 25th, we'll be at Knowlton-Meyer. On the 26th, we'll be at St. Catherine Court. Avenue, we also recently had, well, we do a lot of events at Avenue. We recently had a resource fair there as well. So we're getting back out there to our public housing sites, making sure we keep our ear to the ground and are hearing directly from residents what's happening, and doing some fun activities for them along with the resident councils. And I will say that it's a very different vibe now than it was when I first started. When I first started and I would go to sites, people would be like, oh my God, I have so much to tell you. And it was like very big picture, pretty serious stuff. Now, when I'm out, people are either like, yeah, things are great, or they have like very specific things about work orders or things in their units, still things obviously that we want to address, but you can feel that the tides have started to turn a bit and residents feel like things are better under control, I think, at our properties. And then the last thing I'll share is that we completed our Would I Live Here tours with all the staff. 83% of participants say they would recommend the tour. Overall, it was a very positive experience. We also did pre and post tour surveys and did, ask people for their feedback. We had think tank sessions so we can kind of glean, what do people think? What do they think we need to be working on right now? What do they want us to work on long term? What we heard, of course, was we need to improve site conditions, do more resident activities. We heard from a lot of the site staff and some residents who were kind of talking about the need for more activities on site, which is part of the reason why we've moved part of our special programs team to the sites to do things like that. Stronger communication and transparency within the agency, which is always something we're working on, and a focus on our culture and making sure people are trained appropriately for their jobs. We had over 300 employees participate, and we will continue to do these tours for new folks as they're onboarding. So if you'd like to join one of the tours, please make sure that you let us know, and we'll make sure that you get to do this. So you can see Avenue, Parkway, Liberty Green, and you can kind of see inside of what we're working with here. This spring, we're planning Property Pride Days as a next step. It was clear that a lot of our staff, many of whom have never been on our properties before, because their job might be very specific and located here at headquarters. It was a chance for people to get out, and everyone is excited to go back out and to be a part of the community and to be a part of improving our sites. So we're working on that, and we'll make sure that you guys get invitations. Okay. That was it for me. I know this was a pretty heavy briefing here. If you guys have questions, please reach out to us. Again, we'll come to you next month asking for your approval to make these changes officially. And then, but in the meantime, you know, we're going to start communicating that these changes are planned so that people have as much time as possible to be prepared. And if there are other things that we should be thinking about or doing, please do let us know.
Public housing waiting lists was over, that had been circulated. to public media. Does the impact, and if more people are leased up in public housing, does that help, or is this two separate?
Well, since we're a moving to work agency, all of our funding goes into one big pot and we have a lot of discretion in how we can use it. But the answer is that helps overall because if a unit is not occupied, we are not subsidized by HUD for that unit. And we're also not collecting rent in that unit. So increasing our occupancy is a huge goal in order to help the overall situation. In the past, when we weren't in a Section 8 shortfall, we actually were generating a surplus in our Section 8 program. And part of that was because we were under leased. So we got this big block grant from HUD. We were under leased in our program, so we were generating a surplus. And that surplus would go to fill holes in the public housing funding because public housing has been underfunded for a very long time. So we can't control those things, but what we can control is are our units leased up? Is there someone in there? So we're getting the subsidy from HUD and collecting the rent from the resident. Our 1 and 2 bedroom waiting lists were closed for the Dosker relocation, which is now of course complete. So we were able to reopen those and I know folks were very excited about that. So we have a lot of work to do to fill our vacancies. We do have a high vacancy rate in our properties. So the maintenance team and the property management teams are working really hard and working better than ever together to help make sure that the units are turned over and prepared by the maintenance team and then handed over to property management to get someone leased up in the unit. So that is certainly a big goal because a lot of people need housing and we have a lot of vacancies. So
We have concept, but to help with that.
that's right. If we need their support, we have folks that you all have approved us to work with that we can bring in to help turn those units over. So, you know, at one of these briefings soon, I would like to update you all on our vacancy situation because that is a big piece of our funding puzzle that we absolutely do have control over. And we'd also talked about a procurement briefing that I think Vicky's going to work with you all or work with you all to schedule coming up soon. We'll do that virtually. But yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. Our public housing funding, even though it's a bigger responsibility to own and maintain a unit than it is to issue a voucher. But our Section 8 program is so much larger. And even though we're currently in shortfall, it is much more stable funding than public housing. So it would be really hard for public housing to be supplementing the Section 8 program for those reasons. So.
All right, thank you,
Thank
Elizabeth.
you.
We appreciate it. Now, at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to go into the executive session. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
May I have a second? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're going to go into executive session. There will be no new business brought to the table on that, and we will make no determinations. All right, you all have a good day.
I think I just need Camille.